In the great, crushing blackness of the ocean, there are rules. Thermodynamics dictates them. Biology obeys them. For hundreds of millions of years, the blueprint for a fish was simple. You are cold. You match the temperature of the water around you. If the water is sluggish, you're sluggish. You are a passenger of your environment, tethered to the sun's fading warmth as it filters down from the surface. But then, deep in the geologic past, something broke the rules. A genetic gamble that shouldn't have paid off. A mutation in the metabolic engine that turned a cold, drifting predator into a biological furnace. This is the story of an evolutionary impossibility. A creature that looked at the constraints of physiology and shattered them. It wasn't just a shark. It was a high-performance machine built of cartilage and fury. An animal that grew to sizes that defy logic and hunted with a ferocity that terrified even the giant marine reptiles of its time. Nothing about this shark was normal. By all rights, it never should have existed. How do we know any of this? The ocean is a cruel historian. It recycles its dead. On land, a dinosaur might die in a mudslide and leave us a perfect, mineralized skeleton. But a shark? A shark is a ghost. Its skeleton is made of cartilage, the same soft, flexible material in your nose and ears. When a shark dies, it dissolves. It returns to the salt. Usually, all that remains are the teeth. Hard, enameled tombstones left behind in the sediment. For centuries, that is all we had. Handfuls of triangles, sharp as razors, scattered across the badlands of Kansas or the chalk cliffs of Dover. We built monsters out of imagination and wire, guessing at the shape of the beast based solely on the weapons in its mouth. But science is the art of seeing the invisible. In the last few decades, the narrative has shifted. We have found the impossible: calcified cartilage, rare, fragmentary vertebrae preserved in low-oxygen mud that acted like a time capsule. By analyzing the oxygen isotopes trapped within the mineral lattice of these bones, paleontologists have unlocked a temperature record from millions of years ago. The data was startling. The isotopes revealed that this creature's body temperature was significantly higher than the water it swam in. It wasn't just surviving in the ocean, it was burning through it. We have had to redraw the history books. We aren't looking at a lethargic scavenger. We are looking at the Cretoxyrhina, the Ginsu Shark, and the lineage of warm-blooded giants that paved the way for the Megalodon. To understand why this animal was such an anomaly, we have to travel back. We must go deep into the Cretaceous Period, roughly 100 to 80 million years ago. Forget the world you know. There are no ice caps. The planet is a greenhouse, thick with humidity and heat. Sea levels are so high that North America has been torn in two. A massive, shallow body of water known as the Western Interior Seaway stretches from the Arctic Ocean down to the Gulf of Mexico. It is a place paleontologists call Hell's Aquarium. The water is murky, teeming with plankton, and dangerous beyond measure. This is a world ruled by reptiles. Giant mosasaurs, lizards the size of school buses, patrol the surface. Long-necked plesiosaurs strike from the globe. In this ecosystem, sharks were supposed to be the underdogs. They were supposed to be the scavengers, picking at the scraps left by the reptile kings. But evolution found a loophole. In this submerged continent, the Cretoxyrhina began to change. It didn't just get bigger, it got faster. It developed a system called regional endothermy. Through a complex web of veins and arteries, the reedy mirabile, or wonderful net, it captured the heat generated by its own muscles and recirculated it to its eyes, its brain, and its stomach. While the giant reptiles were sluggish in the deeper, cooler currents, this shark was firing on all cylinders. It possessed the metabolism of a mammal in the body of a fish. It was an evolutionary experiment that turned the ocean's prey into its undisputed predator. Let's look at the mechanics of this assassin. The anatomy of the Cretoxyrhina was stripped of all excess. It grew to 8 meters in length, comparable to a modern orca, but far more primitive in design. Its skin was not smooth. It was sandpaper covered in dermal denticles, tiny, tooth-like scales that reduced drag, allowing the water to flow silently. But the true terror lay in the skull. Its jaws were lined with teeth that were distinctly different from the jagged, sawing teeth of a modern great white. They were smooth, curved, and coated in a hyperdense enameloid. They didn't saw, they sliced. They functioned like guillotines. Using biomechanical modeling, we estimate a bite force that would shatter the chassis of a small car. But brute force wasn't the point, precision was. We have found fossilized tail vertebrae of heavy, armored mosasaurs that have been severed clean through. One bite, bone, armor, and muscle sheared off in a single pass. Its sensory array was equally terrifying. Enlarged olfactory bulbs meant it could smell blood dissolved in the water from miles away. But its eyes, warmed by that internal heater, could process images faster than its cold-blooded competitors. In a high-speed chase, the Cretoxyrhina literally saw the world in a higher frame rate. It could react before its prey even registered the danger. This creature didn't exist in a vacuum. It lived in a vibrant, chaotic ecosystem. The western interior Seaway was a kaleidoscope of life. The seafloor was carpeted in giant clams, some the size of dinner tables, filtering the nutrient-rich currents. Above them, shoals of ammonites, shelled squid-like creatures, drifted like living chandeliers. The air above the water was thick with pterosaurs, diving to snatch unwary fish. But beneath the surface, it was a constant arms race. The shark's main rival was the Tylosaurus, a massive marine lizard. We have evidence of their wars. We have found shark teeth embedded in mosasaur bones, healed over by time, scars of a failed attack. And we have found mosasaur bones in the stomachs of fossilized sharks. It was a clash of titans, mammal-like metabolism versus reptilian size. For millions of years, the Ginsu shark held its ground. It was the apex of an evolutionary line that seemed unstoppable. It had conquered the thermal barrier. It had conquered the ocean. But evolution is not a ladder. It is a branching tree, and branches can snap. 66 million years ago, the world ended. A rock the size of Manhattan slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact didn't just kill the dinosaurs on land, it acidified the oceans. The food chains collapsed. The great plankton blooms died, and the ammonites followed. The giant marine reptiles starved. The Cretoxyrhina was already gone by the time the asteroid hit, displaced by newer competitors, but its lineage, the warm-blooded lamniformes, faced the ultimate test. The large-bodied specialists died out. They required too much fuel. The ocean became a graveyard. However, hidden in the genetic code of the survivors was that same spark, the ability to regulate heat. Smaller cousins survived the apocalypse. They endured the dark, cold years. And from those survivors rose the next dynasty, the Otodus, eventually leading to the Megalodon, and finally, the great white we know today. Today, when you walk into a museum and stand beneath the reconstructed jaws of a prehistoric shark, you are not just looking at a monster. You are looking at a miracle of thermodynamics. You are looking at a creature that defied the natural order of its time. But there's a melancholy to these bones. The fossils of these incredible animals are often dug up and sold into private collections, vanishing from science just as quickly as the animals vanish from the earth. Every tooth that disappears into a private cabinet is a page torn from the book of life. We are losing the history of our planet to the highest bidder. And we are losing the present, too. The descendants of these ancient kings, the great whites, the makos, the thresher sharks, are swimming in an ocean that is changing faster than at any point in the last 66 million years. They survived the asteroid. They survived the ice ages. But they may not survive us. Overfishing and climate change are dismantling the very ecosystems that took millions of years to build. This shark was never supposed to evolve. It was a biological long shot, but it did. It conquered the impossible. Now, the question is not whether life can find a way to survive the impossible. It's whether we will allow it to. If we want to keep the ocean from turning back into a silent, empty grave, we have to act. We have to protect the wild that remains. Because a world without monsters, without the mystery of the deep, is a world that has lost its soul.